disorder having broken out.
Welcome everybody back to Praxis TV, and today I've got with me Alice McLarnon, and I'm really honoured to welcome Alice along today. Alice is the founding member and the dynamo behind Belfast Women's Cleaning Company, and she's a co-operator and a bona fide socialist woman. So It's great to have you here. Thank you for coming along.
Oh, thanks for inviting me, Mandy. Happy to be here.
No worries. So I've invited you along because I thought it would be good if we could have a real proper chat about what it is that you do, the amazing company that you run as a collective with other women, sort of how that got started, and what the key differences are between how you run that company and what it's like to work in a company like that, and what it was like to work, because you did the same basic job before, but obviously it was within a different way of working. So if you could just give us a little intro, or as long as you want really, to just put us in the picture.
Okay. Well, I work for an organisation called Trademark, and we're a social justice organisation. And for this last 20 plus years, I've been working within the community, for the community. In 2010, we were working with women's groups from the Shankill and the Falls. A lot of your viewers will not understand what the Shankill and the Falls is. The Shankill area would be the Protestant Unionist Loyalist communities, and the Falls area is Catholic Nationalist Republican areas. And right down the middle of these two communities is a 2.5 mile long peace wall built from the mountain in the Black Mountain right down to the city centre in Belfast. Some areas of this peace wall, it's up to 60 feet high, and it's separating these two communities. But the problem was all the social injustice, the deprivation, the unemployment, the social problems, the health problems, the educational problems were exactly the same on both sides of the peace wall. And these people were living in deprivation and high unemployment and high mental health problems. And in about 2010, we had both women's groups. We had the Shankill women's groups and we had the Falls women's groups working together in Trademark. And they were continuing to do different training courses with us, human rights and equality, history and identity, finding out their real history, conflict resolution and equality. And in about 2010, the funding, what happens is the funder gives you a bit of money, a wee pot of money, and goes, away you go, you can do your courses. When the pot of money finishes, they forgot about these groups who have built up trust and friendship and actually educating themselves are left on a limb, and there's nowhere else to go. But many of these women on both sides of the communities who were working together, they did build friendships and they did build a confidence between one another, and they didn't want to finish. And also on the other side of that, a lot of them were cleaners, and they were cleaners working in very precarious working conditions. Menial, it's seen as a menial job. They were paid minimum wage or below. Some weeks they were given 10 hours, the following weeks they would go, we only need you for 5 hours. And they were finding it very hard to live, and they were treated very badly as employees. And the women stated, we want to go further. Now, at the same time, Trademark were working on helping set up co-ops, supporting co-ops, because Trademark is run as a cooperative. We're a level structure. Every one of us, our jobs is seen as valuable, because without every single employee, we wouldn't be able to make the company run or the organisation run. And we're all just as valuable as each other. And we're all paid the same wage as well. So in 2011, we received a phone call from a friend of ours who was connected with Trademark. And I answered the phone and he said, Ali, do you know a cleaning company? We need a cleaning company because the awards, what do you call the music awards? Were the MTV Music Awards? Yeah, they were coming to Belfast in the Odyssey Arena. And he says, do you know a cleaning company? So we light bulb came into my head. And I says, I don't, but give me an hour and I'll get back to you. And I rang two of the women. Well, the first woman I rang, I says, do you want to work at the MTV Awards? Now, these were professional cleaners already. And she happened to be in the city centre with her friend who was from the other side of the peace wall. And the two of them were part of the group, and Jolene was with her. And I says, Queenie, do you want to work at the Belfast or the MTV Awards? And she says, absolutely. When is it? And is it a good wage? And I says, yeah. And she says, Jolene's with me. And I says, fantastic. Does Jolene want to work as well? So within that hour, we started to think, okay, this is the next step for these women. These women can become their own bosses, create their own company, which will be a cooperative, and work together for a better living wage. The women worked in the MTV Awards. It ended up there was 5 of them. We got some young lads as well who they wanted to work out in the car park. The response back from the crew backstage, from the management, from the makeup artist, right to the catering, could not believe how professional this team of women were. And right away we got on to Co-ops UK. We were in contact with a woman called Jo Bird, who was a fantastic cooperator and still is. And Jo, we applied for help through Co-ops UK to bring a registered cooperator who could help us set up the rules and stuff. At the same time, I was training then to be a cooperator and help co-ops set up and learn all the logistics behind it all. So in 2012, we became the first registered co-op in Northern Ireland, the first cross-community workers co-op. And since then, and 10 years down the line, we have created living wage employment. We won the living wage award for all of Northern Ireland in 2016. The first rule that we made was no one's working for less than a living wage. There is not going to be minimum wage. The women decide who their customers are. They decide what jobs to take. They decide their hours, because the majority of the women are carers and they have family responsibilities. They needed to work around their children or their elderly parents or people with disabilities. They decided there would be no discrimination against anyone. If you're a good worker and you want to work and want to be part of the co-op, you're more than welcome. So there is complete equality within the whole cooperative. They worked on their business plan and they learned, and the part of the co-op is that every worker has to train on each section of the business, because remember, a cooperative is a business. So it still has to do its financial returns, it still has to do, its registrations, its PAYE, it still has to deal with its VAT. So each woman is given an opportunity to come in and sit and learn, this is how you do this. And so they also all need to know what each section of running a business is. And it empowers the women. And my thoughts were always women go into clean businesses and the clean buildings and people don't even notice them. They don't notice that the cleaners are in unless the cleaner doesn't show up.
Right.
And then they notice. They notice the bins flowing, the kitchen's dirty. And COVID proved a massive, massive thing. How valuable our frontline workers, how valuable our retail workers, our cleaners, our delivery drivers and our porters are. COVID proved that. And I've been saying it for 10 years. I was standing speaking at a conference and it was all councillors from Belfast City Council from every different political party. And one or two of them were quite good friends of mine, and I had to do a presentation and I stood up and I said, if every CEO stopped working for a week, how would you know? But if every cleaner stopped working for a week, you'd really know the difference. So the bin men didn't take the bins away. If you didn't clean your own home for a full week, you would really notice the difference. I says, so please stop disrespecting and looking down on what cleaners are. And when I was leaving, and I even said, every councillor stopped working for a week, so no disrespect, Manly, but I said,
no, it's fair enough.
I said that as well, because at the time, we weren't getting much done through Belfast City Council.
Yeah.
And it's very hard because a lot of councils don't understand what a cooperative is. You're sold the whole entrepreneur, start up your own business, be your own boss, but very few business support networks or council funded or government funded business startups involves cooperatives, and it's a whole education thing. It has to be educated. We now have 11 women working and 3 men. We're not a women's only cooperative. It just happened to be it was women.
I didn't realize that. Yeah.
No. There's men working as well. And we tendered for large outdoor events. Tenants Vitalism Musical Festival comes every year, and we had 100 workers on the books, casual workers who took annual leave from their own jobs to work with us because we were paying better wage and they needed the money.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a wee story for one night. One night we were standing in the field and done a 14-hour shift, exhausted, just we're cleaning up after 40,000 revelers who all were drinking 5 pints each. So count how many cartons we were picking up. Everybody was eating, throwing the rubbish everywhere. Don't know what a bin looks like. and we were cleaning up and just pure exhaustion. And I was standing in the middle of the field and I was going, I don't know, I'm exhausted, I can't do this. And one guy was across the field and shouted over, Alice, think of your social conscience. And I was going, social conscience? A few bleak words came out of my mouth. And his next sentence sort of stopped me in my tracks. He says, this is my kids' school uniforms. I'm doing this because we did it every August. I'm doing this now to buy my kids their school uniforms, and only for the co-op giving me this living wage, I would be fighting it hard to get my kids school uniforms. And I just thought, well, it is doing something. It's doing something when you take people off benefits and they're walking into an organization and a cooperative that they have. In 6 months after probation, they own their own business. They come up, their heads held high. They decide their wages. They decide where they're going to work and how they're going to work to fit in with their family. It's a no-brainer, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and you've got control, haven't you? So you can accept the work that you want to work. You can knock things back if it's not agreeable. Yeah. Exactly. Whereas if you're employed by an exploitative company, you have to do what you're told. You know. Yeah.
Exactly. As I said at the beginning, there's employers who, just treat the workers very badly. And they could come in and say, oh, you're going to the other side town next week, but it's for 10 hours. And then this person has to find a way to get there. And if they don't accept that, then they don't have a wage that week, then how are they going to live? How are they going to pay their rent? Our right at the very beginning was that the worker will come in and they can tell us 16, 24 or full time. What works around your family? What does it that you need to work? What hours are you available? 99% of the time we will try to structure that around the worker. Sometimes the customer wants it at a certain time, so we earmark it for another worker who can fit in with that time. But it's to help people get back to work, to help people to get back to good living wage work, and also people to be empowered of, this is the way forward. I don't see many employers doing that. No employer would give you that flexibility unless you own your own business and you're part of a co-op.
Yeah, because then it's been normalized, hasn't it? Exploitation at work has become the norm. And I suppose the more that people can talk about models, proper cooperative models, because there's different ways. I mean, I remember when in 2010, so you started operating officially in 2012. So that was just a couple of years into the coalition before it was full Tory. And I remember David Cameron had a big thing about the big society, and a lot of that was around sort of social enterprises and things like that. And a social enterprise, it seemed as if it could be anything really, as long as it stated a social purpose. It didn't really matter how many directors it had. It could be a man and a wife, and it didn't necessarily function in any marked different way than a regular exploitative, extractive business would do. And it's important that we've got some really good standard, real good standard of model to share with people to try and normalize a different way of doing things.
That's correct. And I mean, social enterprise, some of them are fantastic and some do really impact the communities. There's others who are run by a board of trustees, and the board of trustees then feed down to the managers, and then the managers tell the workers again, this is what you're working, this is what you're being paid. We had a discussion with a few social enterprise asking, did they pay all the workers living wage? And there was a lot of silence. So social enterprise is good in that if it helps the community and the workers are receiving a living wage and the worker have a say in how the social enterprise is being run. But the vast majority are not, and the vast majority is run by a board of trustees who tell the management, and then the management run it as a business. It's fantastic if they're helping their local communities, but what happens to the worker? What happens to the person who doesn't have a say? What happens to the person who's getting the minimum wage? I think every social enterprise needs to have a clause in it that every worker receives a living wage and has a say in the way that this is run. Because bottom line is, the worker's the one that creates everything. I come from a working class family. I live in a working class estate. I mean, 53 years of my life on this planet has been working class, and I see the wrongs that are being done, and I can see the answers to how to put it right. But you've got an awful struggle ahead. You've got a massive fight ahead, because if it's entrepreneurs and capitalists who are running the place, we don't have a lot of say. But if we keep chipping away and keep building up in cooperatives, worker cooperatives mainly, because that's my passion, worker cooperatives, but every cooperative will follow the 7 principles of cooperation, then to me that's a good thing. Not every cooperative's great. you can see the money that's fired. It's the business setup
Mhm.
from government, you know, business startup, fire thousands, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds at business
Mhm.
startup. And I think it's like the first year of business startup, I think it's like 60% of businesses collapse and fail.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but cooperatives, 80% of cooperatives are still going 5 years later.
Absolutely
And the
amazing.
reason that is people have, well, sometimes it can be burnout and not wanting to lose something that you've set up.
Mhm.
But a lot of it is that people are trying to work to make it work. You know,
Yeah.
this, we're working together. We're going to benefit from the profit from this. The co-op, the first year's accounts was like £9,000 or something.
Mhm.
You know, about 3 years ago, we hit up above the VAT rate. So we have to start paying VAT. We're
Mhm.
now in the 150, 200,000 pound mark. So the growth that we've made in 10 years and the employment that we've created in the 10 years, some of our members have left and went on to do PhDs. Some of our
Right.
members have left to go on and even start up their wee single business because they couldn't put so much time in to help the co-op run, but they'd
Mhm.
rather be self-employed, but they
Yeah.
had the skills and the knowledge from us. And
Yeah.
if we help that woman or if we help them people go on,
Mm.
that's part of what we do.
Yeah.
We work with other co-ops, we support other co-ops. We
Mhm.
went over to London, the Custom House Cleaning Co-op. 3 members of the Belfast Cleaning Society flew over to London for 2 days and we mentored the Custom House Cleaning Co-op.
Mhm.
And it was funny because they didn't seem to get it either.
Mhm.
Our first meeting was that they set up and they put a flip chart up and they put up the list of directors and what the directors were doing. And one
Mhm.
director was the web developer and the other director was the finance and the other director was the chairperson.
Mhm.
And I was sitting looking at the list and I says, how many cleaners do you have?
Mhm.
And there was this one wee lady sitting there and I went, so you've got all these members with you and you're the only cleaner? I says, that's wrong. You know, it's great. Is everyone usually happy to lift a toilet brush or a cloth or a mop bucket? And I was like, yeah, here's me. You've got the whole sense wrong here. Let's start from the very beginning. You know,
Yeah.
you need to win contracts. So
Yeah.
you need to have a good group of cleaners on board who
Mhm.
can secure them contracts and work them contracts.
Yeah.
And them cleaners should be part of dealing with, it's fantastic if you skilled people with web design and you've skilled people with
Mm.
finances and stuff like that.
Mm.
But until everybody collectively say, this is a cleaning club, we're all going to clean. I mean, I do the payroll and the finances and all, but you can see me with a toilet brush in my hand. During the
Yeah.
first lockdown last March until May, we lost 60% of our business because we clean office blocks and
Mhm.
everybody went and worked from home.
Mhm.
So we had no office blocks to clean.
Yeah.
And some of our staff had to go on furlough. But then our work started to accumulate because there was people who had to shield from other businesses and they were emailing us and saying, can you send a cleaner in? We need a cleaner for 3 months.
Yes. Yeah.
We clean Women's Aid and we clean all the refuges in Women's Aid.
Mhm.
And they had to enhance their cleaning because of COVID.
Mhm.
So myself and another girl, because the girl who normally cleans Women's Aid had to shield due to underlying health problems,
Mhm.
went head to toe PPE. We had better PPE than some of the hospitals.
Mhm.
And we were in the refuges cleaning, which created more work.
Yeah.
So we were trying to balance the books out. Not one of our members lost a penny of salary the whole lockdowns, every lockdown,
Mhm.
because we made sure that they weren't only receiving 80%, they were receiving 100%.
Yeah.
Why should someone who's on lockdown, who's a mother, who's a carer, who's a homework, had to do homeschooling with their children, why should she also be hit with a 20% cut in her wages every week? So
Yeah.
as members, we decided that's not happening.
Mhm.
Everybody will get, so other workers work to bring in the revenue to make sure that everybody's other 20% who were furloughed was
Yeah.
covered.
Because you
And,
still have to
that's
pay your
part of it.
bills. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That
Mhm.
was part of it. And even now we're only down to one member who's flexible furloughed because
Mhm.
one of our main big contractors aren't coming back until June.
Mhm.
And then there'll be nobody furloughed, but everybody else is back to work and working away.
Yeah.
And you're just thinking, you know, most business can do it. You see the number of redundancies that are being made. And it's, I mean, I think the last time it was like 308,000 redundancies made
Mhm.
during COVID. I
Mhm.
mean, that's terrible. And there's so many people falling through the net that that
Mhm.
shouldn't be happening. I know there was furlough and furlough was great. And I know there was help with businesses that was great. Very little help for co-ops.
Mm. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, very little help. It wasn't until like late last year that we put in and then we received a budget for a small grant for training
Mm-hmm.
in COVID cleanliness, and we put all our members through all different health and safety back training, and we already do that. We do CSR, we do coach training, and we just upskilled everybody while they were home, while they were in lockdown, while they were shielding, while they were furloughed. They were training at the same time, just to build up their skills for when they come back.
Yeah, so that you're ready to respond. I mean, that's the thing, is businesses have to be agile, don't they, and flexible to respond to different situations. Exactly. But weren't you entitled to the same grants as a regular business was?
No, not really. The grant, see, we didn't fit into the box. So there's all different boxes. You know, you were getting the £25,000 if your revenue was over so much. You were getting the help with the rates. We don't have a premise. Trademarks offices is a hub for co-ops, and we use that premise. We also have a virtual office with Innovation Factory, which is one of our largest contractors, and we have a large contract with them. You know, in 2019, we signed a contract with Innovation Factory for £250,000 over 5 years, securing 4 jobs for 4 women who basically lived a stone throw away from the building.
Yeah.
And that there, you see, this is a council-run building as well, and council has social clauses within their tenders and their tender processes, as you will know. And we ticked every box when it comes to a social clause. We are creating living wage. We are creating employment for long-term unemployed. We're not discriminating against anybody. Single parents are straight in there. We will help you with a job, make sure it fits in with your family life and your current responsibilities. So and people with disabilities. So we were ticking every social clause box. And any time we put a tender in for any council run or company who has secured funding from a council, but then puts a tender out to us like a middleman, we hit all the social clauses. And it's who we are. You know, the Belfast Cleaning Society is run by women and men. It's working class people. It's people who were long-term unemployed. It's people with mental health problems. It's people who are single parents, ex-political prisoners. We basically tick every box. And it wasn't that we set out to do that. Is that we set our doors wide open to say everybody's welcome. If you need a job, come and be with us. And the main criteria is you need to know what a co-op is, or you're willing to learn what a co-op is, and also that you're a hard worker and you want to get stuck in with this. You know, we have had a few people who swung the lead, and then we've had to vote to let them go. We had one girl in the very beginning who had this vision in her head that in 12 months' time she was going to be driving a Jeep and carrying a briefcase because she was part of a business. And I was going, never be a millionaire being part of a co-op. Please get that thought out of your head. You know? But, you know, is
there a limit on how big it can be, or is it ideal at is there an optimal sort of size for a co-op that's doing the job that yours does?
Well, we're providing a service. There's no limit on how big we can be. You know, we can have different branches all throughout Northern Ireland, and we can have a hub that helps each sector. Because we get requests in for jobs that are 50 mile away. Right. But, you know, it's not financially worth our while to drive 50 mile to a job is 3 hours and 50 mile back. It's not worth our while. But if it was enough jobs in that area, then we could speak to people who live in that area who want to be part of a co-op and set up a hub there that they could then. But it could be all under the umbrella of the Belfast Cleaning Society and different hubs throughout Northern Ireland. There's no limit on numbers, you know. It's different for consumer, like the likes of Suma, who has 146 members. But that's a big warehouse, and it's dealing with customers all throughout Europe. And then you have Unicorn, who is the healthy vegan and food. I think there's like 40 odd members in that, but that's a shop as well, selling healthy organic foods and stuff like that. And it's all over in England. But no, there's no number. There shouldn't be no number. It needs to be structured that there's a good committee on top overseeing the help, but this committee will be voted on by all members. You know, it's not just we're the founding or we're the committee here in Belfast, we're going to be part of it. No, it needs to be that if there's people from other districts throughout Northern Ireland, that they're all part of it, but we all come together to help one another. So there's no number, no. So I mean,
because I'd love to see this model grow post-COVID, because I think that, like you've said, what we've seen through COVID is that there's been a massive undervaluation of jobs like cleaning and a lot of other jobs as well. So like security work and delivery, drivers, warehouse packers, call centers, all of these things the economy still needs and people still need. How easy do you think it is? Say someone from a working class background understands about what a co-op is and they're interested. How easy is it for someone to navigate setting something like that up? I mean, you've done it. You've done it, so it's possible.
And we've helped at least 10 co-ops set up over this last 10 years. We were
right.
part of Farmageddon Brewery, Blackwater Valley, which is based in Tyrone. We supported that co-op to set up. We advised them and guided them and helped them get registered. I'm working at the minute with a group of women who are counsellors and stress management and Reiki healing and different things like that. And they go into the private and the public sector or community organisations, the NGO organisations. So these women want to set up a co-op because they collectively all have the skills together. And I'm currently working with them to set them up. But it is easy. It's easy if they start with the basics and they understand. They need to have 3 or more people who want to be involved. Right. Because it has to be 3 or more to be a worker co-op or to be a cooperative. Any type of co-op, you have to have 3 or more members to start off. And if they have the ethos and they understand what a cooperative is, if they're willing to learn and have the commitment, because it does take time. It takes a year or 2 just to get your feet in the door, to get your foundation set, and then to see what way you're going to work as a team, and that everybody is pulling their weight the same way. But I don't see the biggest barrier is funding and support and financial
startup funding and to go through the transition from working from an employer to setting up your own thing. Yeah, there's none of that.
If it was an ordinary Joe Blogs who goes into a business startup organization in Belfast and he goes in and goes, I have a bright idea. I want to set up an IT firm and I need 20 grand to get me equipment in this. Someone there will sit down with them and go through a business plan and say, okay, this is what you could do. We can help you with this. So much startup. There's no business organizations that you can go into. There's a small pot of money that was given to go work west through the Go Social program in Belfast City Council. And Trademark have been lobbying Belfast City Council for 10 years now to set up a cooperative hub and give the same sort of authority and even a percentage of the funding to help co-ops set up within the area of Belfast. And that has been going on for 10 years now. And it went through council, but it never went to committee. And it sat with committee and it's still sitting there. But they will do it for the likes of Ortis Business Startup, Go West, or Go Social, Work West Business Startup. They will do it for that. And about 3 years ago, we kept chasing council for, we need this hub, we need this hub. And what they did was they added a small percentage on the grant that they were given to Work West, and they added the words in companies, social enterprises, and cooperatives. Right. And very few people know about it, and very few people apply for it because that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is let's start with education. Let's have a budget in a hub that you can go out into the community, you can go out into the private sector, the public sector, all women's groups, organizations, and say there is an alternative way you can work, and this is it, and we can show you how, and we can help you, and that's what it needs. But there's no education budget to do that. We're working with the markets community, and there's at least 3 areas of co-ops they want to set up. They want to set up a community cafe, community creche, and a community gym. And the creche would be run by a workers cooperative. We've sitting with their rules from 3 years ago, and then they had a brick wall because the area that they were going to purchase and be awarded grants from the council, then a big developer came in and he was going to build a 20-story building right beside where they are, which overshadowed their area, and it would stop access to where they were going to build. So that's been a whole legal thing going on back and forward through the Markets Development Association. It needs to start at the very beginning, Mandy. It needs to start where there is a support package there to educate people first, because there's nowhere people going in to start, they don't know what a co-op is. No one knows what a co-op is. People think about the funeral directors, the bank, or the supermarket. They don't realize that collectively a team of skilled people can come together, a team of committed people who have a business idea can come together and actually create a cooperative. There's not enough money on the ground to do that.
And I think like what we've seen with the, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between the extractive and the solidarity economy, because that's a term that I've heard Stevie Nolan talking about, is the solidarity economy, and what the difference is between, because I think the cooperative model fits within the solidarity economy, and a normal sort of, you could say, capitalist or regular business would fit within something that you could call maybe the extractive economy. So if I go through some examples of what the extractive economy looks like, and people will probably recognize it from their own jobs and their own experience and what's happened with COVID, with all the sort of corruption and and everything, and the way that sort of economic growth has taken precedence over, saving life. We've got a different narrative now in the media, which is, there doesn't seem to be an examination of what level of a loss of life is acceptable. It seems to be more based on what level of loss of life can the NHS handle so that we look like we're in control, rather than is it acceptable. And it's kind of the reason for that is so that we can keep the economic growth churning, not for us because our wages aren't increasing, but for the people that are hoarding the wealth at the top. So if we go through this little list that I've put together, just like as a kind of game,
Okay.
So I'll say extractive economy, one of the upshots of it is ever declining rights at work, and that profit trickles up, and real terms pay stagnates or declines. So what would the equivalent be within the solidarity economy? What happens to wages and rights? And
the equivalent would be that the money trickles down.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're explaining it that way, because extractive and the economy and things, working class people, not that they're stupid or anything, far from it, but it's usually councillors or government, everybody else is saying them words, and Stevie is a very intelligent man, and Stevie can tell you back to front what it's all about.
Yeah.
Me as a woman and part of this co-op and part of trademark is that the extractive is going to the capitalist. He is paying the workers very little wages, therefore he's making more profit, and he's taking it either to his offshore bank account or he's putting more extension on to his mansion. The solidarity economy is when it's built within the community owns the wealth, therefore the community, their labour makes the wealth. They pay themselves a better living wage. They spend their wages within their local community, which could all be part of a cooperative collective. And that's the difference. The money is not being extracted from that community. The money is being embedded in that community, and it's enhancing their lives, it's enhancing their society, and it's even enhancing the way they live. If you pay someone a pitting wage, and I'll give you an example of someone who we had an argument with. It was a capitalist cleaning company, and we took one of their jobs off them. And then this millionaire owner of a cleaning company was chasing me saying, "You are undercutting us and we are losing the jobs. The worker is your responsibility." And my reply was, "No, you're overcharging, yet you're taking a huge profit off the back of the worker who's making you that profit. We are not undercharging you. Majority of our money that we claim goes directly to the worker, with a small percentage of it kept for insurance, uniforms and cleaning products. So therefore you cannot put that on me." He was getting in his £30,000 car and driving home to his £1 million house, and the worker was going to their 2 up, 2 down. So picture the thing. There's the extraction. If it was solidarity and it's a worker co-op and it's getting a living wage, then it's staying within the community. The family is seeing that the worker is receiving a good wage. Their life enhances because they can better afford, better things for their homes. They enhance their home. If you just picture working class area and people are on a living wage, their homes are run down. They can't afford things. If they can afford them, then the whole community looks a lot better. If the facilities are within their community, then the whole family benefits from it. So, I don't know any easier way to extract it, only that let it trickle down and let that wealth be spread out and shared, because
Yeah.
your labor earned it.
Yeah, I mean, it's only really being retained, isn't it? Retained where it's been created, rather than it being allowed to sort of evaporate off. We don't see, because it's soul destroying to go out and work, and especially like cleaning, it's very physical labor. In a way, I think you should have a lower retirement age for people who've done physically demanding jobs.
I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I tell the girls that are walking into office blocks, please walk in with your head held high, because you own your own business.
Yeah.
And anybody that looks down on you, you're probably earning more than them. And you have more say in what you're going to do. The person who looks down on you, we had one incident that, you know, we got on well with the director and everybody else, and that was great. But there was one girl in particular who constantly wanted to look down at and basically manage and control the cleaner, and constantly give words, until there was a letter written to say, if you've any problem, you collectively send it to us. We know her job is, she's doing her job. And that person stopped doing that. And I know what it was. It was a power struggle. It was a power. If you ever see that picture, and it's all the vultures sitting, the vultures in a triangle, and it's the big one sitting on the top, and then he's shitting on two, and then it keeps going down. And the last one, well, she was the last one, and she had nobody to do it to, and she thought, I'll choose the cleaner. And that's throughout.
Yeah, it's a culture, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's dreadful. I've worked in places like that before. It's a typical pyramid sort of management structure, isn't it? It's very hierarchical. And consumerism. One of the other things about the extractive economy, this is our next point, is that because it relies on the economy growing, like capital has to circulate faster and faster and more in a greater and greater volume in order for it to not just go bang, which it has done a few times anyway. But in order to keep that going, there's this, you know, we have to consume. We're all encouraged to consume and aspire to have ever more things, you know, within our homes or whatever. It's actively stoked, and individualism and a sense of competition is actively stoked as well. So they're like consumerism, aspiration. I mean, apart from the toll that takes on the planet, it's also the toll it takes on people's mental health, when it proves not only impossible to accumulate all that stuff, you can't get the nice conservatory and go on holiday each year and have, you know, a meal out now and again and what have you. It's kind of that sense of inadequacy and having to constantly strive. How does that compare with a solidarity economy? What's the culture in a solidarity economy?
Well, I think consumerism is a really bad seed planted in everybody's head. You don't need everything. You don't have to have everything, but it's society pushing that on us. You know, you're constantly saying, oh, you need this new car, or you need this. There's nothing repaired anymore. There's nothing, you know, anything that breaks down, it's not, we'll just dump that washing machine, we'll just buy a new one. Please repair the washing machine, or we wouldn't have so much in our landfills. And it's basically all to make the capitalist richer.
Yeah.
Because the more we buy, and every 2 years you're upgrading and
chuck away.
Renewing, it's a throwaway society, and it's wrong. And you know, the solidarity economy would be shop local. Shop in your local community shop in your local family run shop. You know, holiday in your local areas where you see, buy from your local seller. You know, it's wrong. And I even laughed. So I went into a supermarket one day, and we have all the big main supermarkets here, and we also have small community shops and small local shops and family run shops. And 9 times out of 10, I tried to support the local butcher, the local greengrocer, instead of going into the big shop. But there was a sign on the shelf, and it said, please buy an extra one of these because the local food bank needs them. And I just thought, are you for real? How brass neck do you need to be that a multi-billion-pound shopping centre, you know, can advertise to working class people who shop in the area, buy an extra tin of these because the local food bank is loaning them, when out the back there's skips full of food. And you're just thinking, how dare you? How dare you? Why are you not? You know, there shouldn't be food banks. There should never be food banks. Nobody should be so poor that they have to go to food banks. But that just gives you an understanding on a lot of people were buying extra and putting them in the trolley to go out, and they have just walked out and worked for their minimum wage or just above, and they've just put more money in the kitty of the big multinational supermarket. And you're just thinking,
and they're blatantly making a profit off people going hungry. It's disgusting. It is absolutely.
And I remember I went on a rant on social media one time going, please, people, see if you want to support the food bank, go to your local wee family-run shop who's not making a huge profit. Do that. Not that there shouldn't be food banks. You know, when you hear nurses who are working full-time hours, trying to pay their rent, and they're going to food banks.
Yeah.
You know, it's a couple of years ago, my father died, and everybody comes to a wake and they leave all stuffed cakes and buns, and an Irish wake's always got loads of food. And when the wake was over, we just had bags and bags of food. So that's where we went. We went to the local community food bank, and we left it up, and we had big bottles of juice, all different juice. And we says to the girl, "Are you okay for taking this?" And she went, "That's a luxury." And I just thought, these people are working, and they're working maybe 2 jobs, and they're still going to a community food bank to get food for their children. What is wrong? What is wrong with society? And we all both know what was wrong with society anyway.
Well, it's the trickle up, isn't it? That's our normal, and that's the normal that needs to change. Concentrations of wealth at the top we've already talked about, but this thing that's happened during the pandemic, it's really kind of brought it home in a lot of ways, just exactly what that means, how cynical, how brazen, politicians or businesses that favor capitalism and endless profit and endless growth at any cost, how brazen they're prepared to be about that. So we've had sort of like, initially it was all based on the science. When we had like Boris Johnson between the two, union flags in the wood paneled room, talking about being led by the science, but that's all gone by the wayside now. And we've got, apparently, allegedly let the bodies pile high in their thousands. Now, whether he said it or not, that's what he's let happen. That's what he's allowed to happen in the way that he has, managed this crisis. But it seemed to be that they needed to have workers back in work at any cost, kids back in school, so their mums could go back to work at any cost, in order for this extraction to continue and to keep growing before it collapsed again, sort of thing. So I don't know what in terms of this looking at this big structure and how a pandemic has been handled. If we had a more if a sort of cooperative solidarity economy was more of a normal thing, more commonplace, if there was more support for it, if more working class people understood how to make it happen and what difference it makes, what would that pandemic, how would that look? How would it be different, do you think?
I think it would have been at the beginning, following the science, and 12, 15 months later, 120,000 plus bodies buried. You have to remember them bodies were people, and they were loved ones and relatives and mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters. Trademark lost one of our comrades in January, Mel Corey, who died of COVID-19 on the 13th of January. He wasn't a number, he was our friend, and he was a long-term friend and a very special person in our eyes. And he was a father, and he was a husband, and he was a son. And Boris Johnson and his cronies did not give one hoot about anybody that was down. And I believe that he did say, "Let the bodies pile high," because that just sounds something that would come out of his mouth. The capitalist way was, yes, keep the people working, keep the money going, keep the revenue coming in. You look at the figures of Amazon and all these different, trillionaires, how much profit they made during the first 12 months of lockdown because of deliveries. You hear about people losing their jobs and becoming an Amazon delivery driver or an Uber delivery driver because they needed to make ends meet. And the money's trickled up massively. If it had been a solidarity economy way, it would have been lock the doors. Everybody would have been getting a weekly wage to help them live. The workers within the supermarkets and the delivery drivers would have been looked after and given the proper salary, for starters, for working in a worrying time, the proper PPE. I haven't even touched on the hospital. The amount of work staff in hospitals have done, doctors, nurses, porters, cleaners, you know, caterers, people walking in flat out, you know, working double shifts, working night and day, you know, this going outside and clapping. No, where's the proper PPE gear? Where's the proper salary? In December of 2019, I stood outside the Royal Victoria Hospital with nurses. Me and my co-workers stood with them, holding up the banners for a pay rise. In December of 2019. In March 2020, they were saying, let's clap the National Health Service, clap them, give them their bloody wages, give them what they deserve. You know, you hear pay raises for MPs and MLAs, and you hear all these pay raises over this last 12 months, and you hear an insult of a pay raise for a nurse who has just watched maybe 30 people die, and who has nursed them and held their hands while they were dying. It baffles me the way people keep voting these people in. You know, what is wrong with these people? And 90% of the time it's because they probably think it's going to be worse the other side, but they don't know. I don't understand it, Mandy. It baffles me. It angers me very much as well. That the people who are running this country are the workers. The people who are keeping this country going are the workers and the working class, the carers, the nurses, the doctors, the drivers, the cleaners. They're keeping this country going. And until the pandemic showed that, and showed that loud and clear. Now that things are calming down a bit, and they're telling you about how much debt they had to borrow. They didn't have to borrow. It's the Bank of England. The government owned the Bank of England. You know, Stevie Nolan always say, "Oh, we borrowed 500 billion." You didn't. It's like borrowing a tenner off yourself and paying yourself the tenner back. That's you know, that it's
doable
nonsense.
in these circumstances. And we've done it
Exactly.
before. And
do you know what happened? What will happen is, when they start bringing austerity in again and cutting everything, it'll be the working class that'll be hit. It won't be the millionaires. They'll not touch them. It'll be the working class that'll be hit. And until everybody stands up and says, no, it's not happening.
We do seem, as the working class, we do seem to be not oblivious, but there's a lot fewer working class people engaged with socialism than there used to be in the past, or understanding what socialism is, understanding what an alternative economy might look like. And some of that, I think, has been deliberately orchestrated, you know, through parachuting in of middle class and affluent, you know, parliamentary candidates and things like that, undermining of the unions and union legislation and that kind of thing, because there used to be hubs where working class people would congregate around political discourse and what have you. And it's about how we rebuild that awareness, really. And I don't know what you think, but I see cooperative approaches to business, and particularly types of jobs that have been undervalued and underpaid for too long, especially now following COVID. I see that as one possible route where people can start to link together how the economy and politics can either work for you or against you, you know. And I think one of the really great things about what you've done as well is that you haven't waited for the right government to be in position before you've done a grassroots change that's made a tangible difference, probably politicized the people who've been involved in it more as a result, because it's helped them to understand the difference in a lived experience way between being preyed upon by an extractive economy or having a say and some control within a solidarity economy.
And that's only a small drop, you know. You know, we need buckets now. We need bucketful of using that model throughout all of the UK and Northern Ireland and Ireland. We need keep dripping away, and the more cooperatives, the more social economy organizations, the more activists that are involved, the more we can get the word out. But it'll go back to again what I said earlier, Mandy. We need education. And we need that education on the ground, because if people don't understand what a co-op is, a lot of it's fear as well. People are frightened to lose their jobs. People are frightened to say something out of turn in case the next thing it is, so there's a P45, you know, we don't need to know more. And the amount of redundancies that are being made now, and things, shops closing down because they couldn't get through COVID, they couldn't get through the pandemic. The businesses that are shut up shop now, there's going to be a lot of more unemployed. But the skills are there, and you know, if the need is still there for that service or for that item or for that thing, then the workers know what to do.
Yeah.
So let's go in and get these workers together and go, no,
Yeah.
you can start it again, but you can do it, but you own it.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways around it that, and it'll take a plan of action, and it'll take enough people to be committed to say this is what it is. But it'll go back to it again. It means education. We need people to know this is available. This alternative is there. And unfortunately, when it comes to government, they're not going to support that. They're not going to back that up. Because
no, in Italy they've got Macura law, haven't they, where if a business does go, not goes under, but someone retires and their family don't want to inherit the business or whatever, rather than it just being wound down, it can be offered to the community to buy. I don't know if they get support, financial support to buy it, but it sounds like a really good.
Yeah, I think there is support from the government and support from the unions and support from different organisations that help them to keep going. It may not be, if a company or a business is closing down because of not enough profit, it doesn't mean that it's not making profit. It means it's just not enough for that capitalist, and he wants more, so he's going to make more money by selling it. But the workers still need their wages. And if there's 50 workers in a factory and they're making something, and even if it's £100,000 a year profit, £100,000 a year after all their outgoings, and they're still earning a wage, and they own it, and they can decide where that small profit's going to go. But for a capitalist who is only making that amount, he goes, "What's the bother? I'll just sell it."
Because it's nothing to them. It's ceased fulfilling its purpose for them. We don't have that.
We can't think like that.
No,
we're not millionaires.
But there's a lot. The work that's shown itself to be really essential, quite a lot of it does potentially lend itself to this model, doesn't it? So that's a hopeful thing, and that's exciting. And I think what's also exciting as well is that I think where a successful cooperative does establish itself, it tends to then little bubbles of other cooperatives pop up around it, because people can see firsthand that it works, that people are happier, working in those more collaborative situations where there's more equality and they've got more control. And so it kind of, hopefully it's going to spread, on the ground that way. But it definitely sounds to me like it could be a real, a positive route forward for the communities that have been damaged the most by austerity and now by COVID as well. So
yeah, and piece by piece, if you start piecing this jigsaw together, piece by piece, as it grows. I mean, even if it grows slowly for the first few years and it creates 250 jobs, what's 250 people have a say? And they will then be telling other people. And that all just a trickle, just keeps going. It's like a domino effect. The trademark, I've been working with Creative Workers Cooperative, who are designers and web developers. We work with NASA, but unfortunately they had a fire in their cafe. We did work with them. We're working with different co-ops to help set up, and people who know us know about co-ops, but we need that message to be getting out further. And we need to be going out in the communities and telling organisations there is an alternative. If you have a business idea, come and see us, and we will try to find a way to help you.
And get councils to offer that support and understand it better as well.
Absolutely.
And I think put the first focus on the low income communities and the people that are doing the undervalued jobs. I'd start there.
Absolutely.
Grassroots up. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on to talk to me. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope that with the discussion has sort of highlighted a little bit how politics and economy and the jobs we do, how we feel in them. It is all interlinked. It is all interlinked, even though we might be doing a job and kind of miserable, trundling along with it and just thinking that there's no other way of doing things, and that we're not interested in politics. It all affects, it's all interlinked, and there are different ways of doing things. So
absolutely, Amanda.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been just lovely to meet you properly, and I'm sure we'll be in touch again soon.
We will indeed. You take care.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. That was awesome. Thank you.
Okay.